I hereby decree that the Supreme Kai is no longer a joke of a character. A few years ago, when you asked us about who would be a good protagonist for a new Dragon Ball series, we would have picked many candidates. From humans through Piccolo, who didn't have the likes of superhero at the time, to the younger generations of Saiyans to carry the torch. It would never ever have occurred to us to even remotely consider a character who was basically one of our channel memes back in the day. We even made a what if telling the story of this character being more competent. But now we have Daima to do that for us officially. And within Daima, the true protagonist is not Goku, not really. It is a certain Glind, who is on the journey of self-discovery and to fix the mistakes of the past. The old Shin is dead, folks. Long live Nahar, because that is his name. And before we start, it's a bit of a mild criticism that Goku doesn't do as much in the new series as people hoped. He doesn't really change. He's more like a mascot and a tool for other characters. Hey Goku, we need to get through this problem. All right, I got it. Goku smash! And honestly, it would be a bigger problem if not for the entire rest of the cast pulling their weight. Gloria is brooding, but kind of badass and not completely humorless. Pansy is quirky and funny and a little bit moody, but not to the point of being obnoxious or incompetent. And then there is Shin. Nahar. What does his name mean though? Well, according to the always reliable Herms on Twitter, it means this. Nahar is an imperative verb suffix, i.e. used for giving orders, associated with Japan's Kansai region. This fits the pattern of zamasu, gowasu, degesu, and arinsu, all being named for various verb forms. Pansies apparently noticed this pattern too. So yeah, finally he's not the odd one out, and it seems that most of the Kais, save for maybe Goasu, have gotten new names once they left the demon world. An interesting bit of thought. Also, the core world or planet Kaishin seems to be a thing after all. In an interview from 2009 in Super Exciting Guide, Toriyama was asked this. Inside the big ball I mentioned before, there is a planet called the World Core, Kaishinsei, where the Kaio are born and raised. It's a world like a gigantic planet Kaio, and Kaio-sama and his peers are born as core people, Shinjin, from the fruit of the World Core's giant world tree, Kaiju. The planet's population is about 80. Core people are neither male nor female, and their average lifespan is said to be about 75,000 years. At a castle that's like a school, they learn a variety of things and live an easygoing life. However, if a Kaio dies on one of the Kaio planets, the next Kaio is chosen from among them by lottery. However, a Kaio Shin is chosen only from core people who are born from a special golden fruit, which rarely occurs. In addition, there are occasionally delinquent core people with evil hearts. These ones fall under the Makaio. So it does seem that nowadays we consider it to be located in the second demon world, probably. Well, I'm pretty sure that we are going to be seeing it. You can already see from this little bit of information that some of the lore has changed, but it's not like it was forgotten, and rather it was modified and decided upon what would be kept and what would be removed. It's kind of neat if you ask me. Anyway, Nahar. Well, in the last episode, he has seen the most action since his fight with Piccolo in Z, and I've got to admit, he did really well. Him causing the collapse of two gendarmerie ships, that was pretty badass. And he didn't feel helpless against the two soldiers, and he actually did a lot of damage. Also, he removed Pansy's collar, which we now know is an invention of his nefarious older sister. I think we can throw the notion of her being a neutral party out of the window, by the way, definitely on the evil spectrum. Still, the great thing about this new incarnation of Shin is that he feels like a much more coherent character. He is very careful and perceptive, but at the same time, he has the need of helping people, you know, like a Supreme Kai should, doing his job, very cerebral. And while he tried to help during the Buu saga, most of his confidence was shattered by Goku threatening him during the Vegeta margin incident. But it does seem that there is no ill will here. It's like he's gotten over that and that he trusts Goku completely. And the Saiyan treats him like one of his buddies, which is quite nice, and Shin does know how to press his buttons, which makes this partnership really effective actually. And we haven't really seen Goku have that kind of a relationship on a longer trip, ever, to be honest. He still has respect for the guy, despite everything, calling him by his correct title, even noticing how using his real name really just doesn't sit right with his mouth. It's weird, you know? And this can also be seen as a parallel between those two characters, who adopted different monikers than their birth names and have outgrown the roles given to them by their society. Also, it's not that Daima's Shin is incoherent or inconsistent with the Z version, no. He still withholds information when it's not necessary to share, something he was quite infamous for in the earlier series. But right now, we can see why he acts this way. First, there are mostly personal reasons, and he does reveal them once confronted directly. Sort of a, well, you never asked. And second, he doesn't fully trust Gloria, even though, as we mentioned on many occasions before, there is a clean line between respect between the two. And finally, thirdly, there is a notion that Nahar has some regrets regarding his siblings and how they turned out. Some deeply hidden shame that we suspect might be the core reason of why this storyline exists. Maybe Daima's entire storyline is this, and unlike Goku, who doesn't change in his usual bubbly self, we are going to be seeing Shin open up and develop. To the Saiyan, to Pansy, even to Gloria a little bit. He is aware that he might try and betray them, but I am almost sure that he also sees the good in their pilot, and considering what kind of a person Arinsu is, he might guess that their relationship, this collaboration, is quite complicated. You know, there's that joke within the fandom that Daima is an isekai for Goku, but to be quite honest, it feels more like a homecoming story for Shin. And he is quite confident, whilst not knowing everything about the third demon realm, which he's never fully explored until now, that he has that aura of knowledge, and he doesn't lose his cool, not really. He also has a real trust in Goku, like I mentioned earlier, and he's learnt to accept and understand his eccentricities, as that will get the job done eventually. He knows the value of the warrior, despite all of the oddities that he's witnessed. There's also a sense of purpose, you know, and a mission, that it's about something more than just getting Dende back. Don't get me wrong, saving the Guardian of Earth is definitely imperative, but you can feel that whatever is really happening is personal to his story, deeply personal. And I do wonder if Kibito will also get this treatment, as he could really do with some of that, and we could learn more about that dynamic. Maybe they will eat one of those fusion bug things and become Kibito-kai again by the end of the series. Just food for thought, you know. And I don't know why, but I get this vibe off him, wanting to make peace with at least one of his siblings, most likely Begesu. Right now, I am of the mind that Goma's right-hand Glind, being the less evil of the two, is quite reasonable, but that could change really quickly. Shin does seem to be aware that there is a greater game at play, but he is unwilling to reveal all of his cards, partially because of Gloria's shaky affiliations. He hasn't quite fully sussed them out yet. And honestly, because Goku is not the kind of person to ask those things, why would you put them in jeopardy like that? When the group expands, I wonder if the likes of Vegeta, Bulma and Piccolo will attempt to maybe pull his tongue a little bit, get to know more. And one of the most exciting facets of them joining the fray is seeing them all interact together in these mini, larger-than-life forms. And I do think that kidification of the entire crew, instead of just Goku, works so much better if we had to have it at all, because it gives every character an equal footing in some sort of way. And I just hope that with the expansion of the cast, Shin's storyline doesn't disappear or gets blurred or abandoned. But so far it seems quite crucial to the plot of the series, so I doubt that will happen. Now, another hope that I have is that we are going to be seeing a new transformation for him. We've had Namekians and Saiyans transform, why not Glins? We do know that Cronoa has her Time Power Unleashed form, and although this is taken from the media as Dragon Ball Heroes, and we know, maybe Nahar will be able to have his own Supreme Kai-esque form where he grows to 6 feet tall. Also, those join bugs are definitely a Chekhov's gun, but the question is, who's going to eat them? I'd be severely disappointed if the result was only Vegito or Kibito Kai, as I think it would be much more thematically apt to fuse together Shin with someone else, preferably with either Goku or Gloria. Having the Saiyan and the Kaioshin together becoming one would serve a nice antithesis to merged Zamasu. You could compare the two. And we do know that there is some sort of influence of that particular character when we consider what has happened with the naming convention of the Glins. I think it could be rather fun thinking this way. It is really funny, you know. Because when we first met Shin, we saw him as this smug little deity who's slowly realizing that he has gotten way more than he bargained for and underestimated things completely. That despite his good intentions, he is just way behind what mortals can do that he failed to keep tabs on. That was meant to be his job. It's that failure that turned him into an exposition machine that was mostly in the background and said that everything was stronger than Frieza, mostly startled and often clueless and unsure. He had his moments in the Goku Black arc, but most of the time he was competing either with the Elder Kai or Krillin. This wasn't really working and that had to change. Now, we have this pint-sized little deity, the Supreme Kai Mini, who is much more confident and active than the character was for the last 30-odd years or something like that. But at the same time, there is no trace of that initial smugness that we saw before he could see what Goku and co were capable of. No pointless comparisons to Frieza anymore or anything like that, even though we joke about it. This is a character that has grown from that experience in the Buu saga and is doing their damnedest in this situation to try and do what they can that they found themselves in. Shin takes partial responsibility for what went down. That part is clear. Even if he doesn't really speak it out loud, we know it. His presence in the demon realm does seem to be part of some bigger scheme, something that could have been expected by his sister. In a way, Goku is his accessory that helps him break the walls to get to where he needs to go. But the Saiyan doesn't really care about that, he enjoys the ride. Our Glin friend even sees value in his competitive nature and his desire to challenge the Tamagamis due to the potential usefulness of the Demon Realm Dragon Balls to their task. He is taking every opportunity as we speak. And I think one of the reasons why Daima feels relatively fresh in terms of Dragon Ball is that we've never had a character like Shin drive the plot. Smart-like characters were either really eccentric, Bulma, or had to be heavily pushed by the circumstances to get to where they needed to go, Gohan and then Vegeta. Shin is the first character to really plot a lot of his movements, and even though he doesn't share it with the rest of the group, you have that feeling of him having a good head on his shoulders, and you know what? I'm really happy for them. I'm happy that after so many years, Dragon Ball has, again, found a way to focus the story on someone that isn't a Saiyan. Obviously, Goku and Vegeta are here to support the cast, but we know what they're all about. Heck, we even know what Piccolo is all about these days. He's had his share, so now it's good to focus on someone else. But Shin? He was almost an uncharted territory, something that we dismissed and preached as somebody desperately needing something, and that something was Daima. Good for you, little Supreme Kai. Finally, he's won our hearts. Finally, he's not a joke. We can finally put your meme to rest. Unless Shin is dead, folks, let's all clap now for Nahar.